Hey, business builders. I'm really excited today to be joined by Blake Brewer. And Blake is going to talk to us about his project and dream to help business owning, and not just business owning, but all dads write a letter. So he's going to tell us about the Legacy Letter Challenge. And it's not only dads, he also now has a program for moms. And Blake and I were chatting just before we got started here, and I was telling him about all of you. I was telling him about the business owners in our mastermind group, as well as people that I coach one on one. And he said, "You sound like his kind of people." So, Blake, it's really great to have you here today. I'm going to cut my intro short. The first time I talked to you and heard your story and read your story on your website, I was like, wow, this is a really worthwhile thing to do in the world, and I want to help however I can to bring your message to others. So, welcome to Business Builder Camp. Good to have you today.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm excited to be here, man. I appreciate what you're about, and the group that you built. Like I said, yeah, really, that's where I'm at. I started a business to spend more time to be, successful and impact people, but I'm thinking of my family here and how I can provide for them and give myself more time with my family. And so I'm right in the thick of it with everybody else, and it's pretty cool because my business really serves a lot of business owners and families and parents who want to connect with their children. And so I know we're going to get into that, but yeah, this is my people.
Great. Yeah. And so your mission is to help 1 million dads write a letter, right?
Yep, we're
Right.
at help 1 million dads write at least one well-written, meaningful, lasting legacy letter to their children.
Yeah. So I got it. So that's the what. Can you tell us a little bit about your why? Tell everybody how you got here and why does this matter to you? Like,
Well, I didn't just stumble across this one day. I pinch myself at times, like, man, how in the world did I get here to get to be the one who helps dads and now moms write this letter that they're really proud of, and it's absolutely because of what my dad did for me. So let me back up. I know a lot of your listeners know who Terry Bradshaw is. And
sure.
before Terry Bradshaw was winning 4 Super Bowls with the Steelers, he was at a little college in Louisiana called Louisiana Tech, and he was making all kinds of records down there. And one of the guys he was throwing to was his tight end and his best friend and roommate. And I love this man dearly because it was my dad, and that's my was my claim to fame growing up. My dad was Terry Bradshaw's tight end, and while Terry Bradshaw went number one to the Steelers, my dad went to the Falcons in like the 12th round and ended up getting hurt, and not playing. But more than being a good football player and successful in business, he was a CEO of a hospital. My dad was my dad, and he was my hero. And so, in my family, there's before May 23rd and there's after May 23rd, 2003. And so we went on a family vacation to Hawaii. And the first morning that we were there, we were trying to decide what we were going to go do, and we decided to go to Hanama Bay and go snorkeling. And so we were out in the water looking at all the cool stuff, and we got tired and we came in, and I remember I laid down on the beach, my sister laid down on the beach, my mom was laying down, and my dad didn't lay down. He said, man, we're in Hawaii, I can't just lay on the beach, I'm going back out there. And he started walking down the beach to go to a new spot. And I remember laying there on the beach and thinking, man, I kind of want to just lay here, but actually more than that, I want to go be with my dad. I just finished my freshman year of college, I'd been away, and I ran and caught up with my dad. And I'll never forget the look that my dad gave me. He gave me a big old smile and said, "Ah, oh, look who decided to join me." And my dad did for me, as I've reflected on it, what he had done hundreds and thousands of times. My dad expressed that he simply just enjoyed being with me. My dad liked me. And now that I'm a dad, and I've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 10-month-old, I know that that's one of the best things that I can give my children is to just put down the phone and give them my attention and just simply enjoy being with them. And that's what my dad did. We put our masks on, we went out in the water, and we snorkeled um, further and further out, we ended up in an area that I now know is called Witch's Brew, and the water got really treacherous, and I realized I couldn't find my dad. And so I started scanning the water. The waves were really big, and all of a sudden I saw my dad, and he was trying to get out of the water. And I remember thinking, why is he trying to get out of the water right here? And because the waves are just crashing against this rock. And so, sure enough, he's halfway up, and a wave crashed against my dad, knocked him back down in the water. And so I thought, man, I've got to get over there to my dad. And so I swam as fast as I could. And by the time that I had got to my dad was underneath the water and he was unconscious. And at this point, I'm thinking, wow, like I did not know that it was this serious. And I put my arms around my dad and did the best that I could to try to swim around to the other side of this rock and get my dad to safety. A nearby snorkeler showed up, as well as the lifeguards, by the grace of God, because I was about to go under myself. And I wasn't going to let go of my dad, so I don't know how that was going to end. But they ended up getting my dad to shore, and they started doing CPR to my dad. And I was on my hands and knees next to my dad as they were doing CPR, just looking up at the sky and just crying out to God, God, would you please save my dad's life? And I just knew that it was going to be like the movies where they're doing CPR, the water kind of gurgles out of his mouth, his eyes flicker open, but it never happened. And my mom and sister were laying down on the beach and they saw the commotion, the lifeguards, and they said, that's where Dad and Blake were. And so they ran down to where we were, and I'll just never forget my mom running up to me with my dad. I'm still doing CPR to my dad, and said, Mom, it doesn't look good. I don't know if he's going to make it. And they loaded my dad in the ambulance. My mom went with him, and they got to the hospital and pronounced my dad dead. In a matter of moments, like I was literally having one of the best moments of my life, and now my dad is gone, and it's gone to one of the worst moments. The story continues though. We were back in the condo that afternoon. I had just, as the oldest son, I called my dad's parents. They were devastated. They never thought that their son would die before them. I called my dad's work, called church, called dad's friends, and it was just so surreal. I go to the back bedroom of this bedroom, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just trying to take it all in, like what the heck just happened. And I was really talking to God, like, God, where were you? And my mom appears in the doorway, and she says, hey, I was going through your dad's briefcase, and I found something that he was going to give you on this trip. And I had no idea what she was talking about, but she walked across the room and put some sheets of paper in my hand. And at the top it said, Dear Blake, Natalie, and Marcus, my sister and brother's name. And she said, for the last couple of months, your dad has been writing a letter to you guys, and he was going to give you your copy on this trip. And so I I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't even describe how I felt in that moment. The fact that my dad would spend a couple months of his life writing down how he felt about us and give us some life guidance in this letter. And so it absolutely changed my life because it got me through that time in my life. And then to this day, 18 years later, those words are still guiding me. I'm taking on new meaning, even as I've got married, have kids, starting a career. So it was when I was had my kids were born, and I was like, okay, I've got to write a letter to my children. My dad did this for me. I see all the issues that my children are going to be facing, and they're going to have more voices, more people speaking into their life than ever before in history with social media. And I've got to get my voice into their life. I've got to write a letter the way my dad did for me. And I saw how difficult it was to write this letter and to organize your thoughts and feelings. And so through a series of events, I was like, I got to help dads write this letter. And that's how we got started.
Nice. Thanks for that. um, Now, I've read your story before, and we've talked a couple times, and it's still, hmm, it's really impactful to be with you as you share it. And I know you've shared it a bunch, but I appreciate your I don't know what the right word is. Is it bravery or pushing through? It can't be a fun. It can't be exactly fun to like go back through that and see it. However, that process is for you. So I think it's just a really, um, it's a gift that you're giving to people to go through that emotional process. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. It's not easy to share. It is therapeutic a little bit, and so I appreciate you letting me share. And then every time I get to share, I get to honor my dad's legacy. So I do appreciate you letting me do that.
Yeah, you and I tried to do this call once before, and then we ended up talking about your work and what you were doing, and we didn't end up recording it, which was fine because then I got an extra conversation with you, Blake. Um, but yeah, and then of course, listening to you, and this is why I thought it was important to share with business builders in my world who are entrepreneurs, business owners, and that starting a business takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time, and a lot of work, and a lot of effort. And sometimes we can think about, oh, I'm doing this for my family. I certainly have had those thoughts. I'm doing all this for my family, or I'm sitting on my laptop at night for my family and not, really exactly being present with them. So, what a like boom, like reminder, slap, if you will, to say it's we never know. None of us know the day or the time or the hour. Your dad certainly didn't know. So I always appreciate like that wake up call. So the letter itself. So I was wondering about this if he had written it to you collectively, and then what you recommend um, dads and moms do as far as do they write it collectively to everybody. I guess any letter that I would write is probably good, right? And then there's like I hear in what your dad did, there was and in what you do in the process you take people through, there's this very trying to touch a bunch of different areas that I might not think of on my own. So do you recommend that people write it collectively to their kids?
Yeah, I have dad. I mean, I get this question asked all the time, and my dad did write us our letter to all of us. And there's some parents and dads that I help do that for, and then usually what ends up happening is you kind of write one to one kid, and then like the next letter is very similar to that one, and maybe it's like 75% the same words, but then you
Mhm.
customize different sections based on their personality, based on their experience, based on the memories that you have with them. But I say just start with one because it can get overwhelming thinking, oh man, I got to write 3 letters or 4 letters. And then what I see is dads end up never not getting started, which is the whole reason I created the course and the things that I do. It's like, no, we've got to get just one written. And it doesn't have to be this masterpiece of writing. It's just like, we're going to share your heart and your thoughts because that's all your children want to hear. They're not trying to look for this amazing work of literature. They're just looking to hear your heart and it be on paper where it's lasting.
When you're an authority in that, in what, like, in essence, like for me, I don't know exactly what my children would want to hear, right? Or do I have to do it per? There's a billboard. I kind of think it's like for Big Brother, maybe it's Big Brothers, Big Sister, maybe it's for foster parents, but it goes. I just saw it the other day, and there's like a question that's asked, and there's three possible responses on the billboard: A, B, and C. And one is go ask your mom, and one is sure, why not? And the point of the billboard is like parenting, there is no perfect answer, but
Right.
kids need parents. So I think that's a good word. That would be a fear of mine. Like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it perfect? You're saying as a person who's experienced it, it wasn't all that in that moment, I guess, was it?
Yeah, and people ask me, well, when should I write my letter? When should I give it to my children? And my answer is the best day to write this letter to your children. The first one is the day that they're born, and then the second best day is now. Because of what we said earlier. We don't know when our last day is. My dad did not know that he was going to pass on May 23rd, 2003. And I am so glad that he got some things written down going into that weekend. And so I help dads write a letter to their unborn child which is pretty cool to think about, that their son or daughter for the rest of their life is going to know that their dad wrote them a letter about how much he loves them and how proud he is of them even before they were born. Like, man, do they have a dad that loves them? Yeah, they do. And then it does something to the dad's heart too when you write this letter. And but then I have grandparents, like older moms and dads, writing this letter as well. And obviously the letters, um, like my structure that I provide, goes for both. But obviously there's going to be a little bit more to it the older your children are, and you understand their personalities better. And
Sure.
so, I mean, the letters are definitely different, but you got to get at least one written.
So and probably other people ask you this too. Like I get it. Like the to have the letter around if something happens to me. And what do you recommend as far as let's assume that I'm not killed by their 18th birthday or whatever. Like how do people in your community, what are you doing as far as like proactively giving letters?
I got a text a few months ago from Tim Delaney. He's the vice president of the Arizona Cardinals. And we just helped him write his letters. He's got a 12-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter. And he had written a letter to his 12-year-old daughter. And he knew that with her going into her teenage years, so he was writing this letter to give to her for her 13th birthday. And she's going to, you know, in middle school, you have, the whole world is trying to tell you how you should be. And she's going to be facing all these insecurities and
That's
looking at her
true.
friends. And he
Yeah.
knew that she needed to hear from her dad. And who does her dad say she is? And so he sends me this text. I just gave her the letter. And she took the letter, went straight into her room, and sat on the edge of her bed and started reading it. And he could see through the crack in the door. And then she came back out and gave her dad a big old hug and said, "Dad, thank you so much for this letter." And he started crying. I started crying just reading the text. And so, every situation is different, but I tell dads, like, take them to dinner. Maybe it's a Christmas gift, a birthday gift. You've taken a good amount of time to write this letter. This isn't the type of letter like on Valentine's Day, Wayne. I know you've never done this, but where you go to the grocery store and you buy a card real quick and sit out in the driveway and scribble some stuff down. No, this isn't that type of, like, we spent some time writing our, some really good thoughts down.
Yeah.
And so I tell parents, like, no, like, let them know that you spent a lot of time on this letter, and it's okay to tell them that you signed up for a program or for a course and got some help. I mean, we sign up for all kinds of other programs and courses in our business,
Sure.
and so we're not cheating by that. We're actually sending this message like, hey, I care about you so much, and these words I was going to share with you, I spent money on a program to help me communicate it clearly. Like, I
Truth.
mean, you send a strong signal when you say that.
Yeah. I want to ask you about your program and how you help. Before that, the thought that occurs to me is, so I hear you give this, I hear your story. I hear about you and your dad and your siblings, and I think, and literally, you and I have talked, and I have written to my children. I'll say that. We have some letter writing exercise we do as a family that I learned from another coach, and I have a daughter who had been in the hospital, and as she's gotten out, I've written her some letters. And I was relating to you right before we got on the phone. My son hit the garden hose, and we had a good moment to work together on how much I appreciate him mowing lawn and some things that happened in my life. So I do fairly well with this, and yet, nonetheless, I've not started the letter as even though I read your story several months ago. So so it would be easy to say, you know what, thanks for the info, Blake. That's all the like wake up call I need to hear what happened with you and your dad. Now I'm going to go do it. What do you think gets like what gets in the way of people starting and just writing a letter like this?
Well, life happens, and so, I mean, we're full of good intentions of things that we want to do, and then it's actually getting them done. People have not written a letter like this, and so the idea of writing this letter sounds amazing. But then when you actually sit down with that piece of paper in front of you and a pen, you're like, okay, well, yeah, how am I going to write this letter? And so I've helped a lot of dads who I've helped dads on both ends of the spectrum, like dads who've never written before, and then dads who are like, I've written my kids a ton of different letters, and both of them say I would not have written a letter like this good without you helping me. And so, you're a coach, it's valuable to have other people in your life, like just helping you think through things that you don't know what you don't know. And so that's really what we've tried to do is um, guide a mom or a dad and help them think through some things. And so part of it is what I call drawing the letter. You already have a letter in your heart, so we're gonna draw that letter out of your heart into your mind and then onto a piece of paper. And then I do know, I do know, as I've done research and everything, I know what children need to hear from their parents. And so some of that stuff you don't even realize, don't know. And so it's like, hey, we're going to make sure that's in the letter because I know your children will be better in life. They'll have more confidence. They'll have more emotional intelligence if you communicate XYZ to them.
Got it. Um, so what? So tell us a bit. Tell all of us about. I know you have a online course, and then but you also have a group coaching sometimes, or I even saw on your website you'll do a letter one on one, and that as a coach, as you said, um, I can imagine how spending time with you one on one to write a letter, you said it causes a change in the dad or mom that's writing the letter too. And that 100% makes sense to me also, that as I would search through that with another human like you, it would help me look inside, get it out. But so what are those different programs you offer?
Well, so most people do go through like the self-guided course, but a lot of times what happens is a business will buy it for their employees, or like a financial advisor or someone who sells insurance will buy my program. And I have special rates and special packages in this situation when they buy it for their clients. And so it's pretty cool because they get to give this as a gift. And so their clients or their employees, get to log in for free. But a lot of times what will end up happening is part of that package is the owner or the advisor, whoever will want me to coach them one on one, which I'm very happy to do it, or they'll invite their friends, which is really fun. Like we helped a group we just finished, and this dad he invited like 10 other guys, and these 10 guys all knew him, but they all didn't know each other. So he had like his pastor on there. He had his NFL agent. This guy who's playing the NFL agent on there. He had this guy. He's a motivational speaker now. So this other guy does stuff, and it was like his neighbor, his cousin was on there, and he was loving it. And these guys are just like, man, like thank you so much that you bought this, and I get to be a part of it because they had never, of course, been a part of a group coaching about anything to do with fatherhood. So it was kind of like a cool 4 week experience that we had together.
Got it. So the course is people can get on there and watch videos and then do some templates and things like that. And that's the self-paced thing, I take
Oh
it.
yeah, and yeah, you're in a community. So if anyone ever had a question, there's like in my online community, like there's other dads in there that can help you, and I'm there. I do a live office hours in there, and so there's a lot of help in there as well. But there's 10 videos, 10 lessons, and 4 of the lessons are to help get your heart and mind in the right spot even before you write the letter. And man, some of those lessons, I've gotten great feedback on those. That those are really good. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bragging thing, Blake. It's you're clearly serving and helping. So you can totally say the feedback is really good.
Yeah, yeah. And we talk about our own fathers in some of those lessons, and the impact that our fathers had on us. Because whether you had a great father, a father that wasn't around, an average father, like your father absolutely impacted you. And the more that you understand that, the more that you will positively impact your own children.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Um, so you said that you do have kind of some resources to get started, which might lead somebody to then, of course, purchase the package to get on the course. And I'll make a link available to everybody to whatever resources you provide. Is it that's the case, right? Like there's
Yeah,
a
you can go to legacyletterchallenge.com, and then we've got a thing there, 3 secret ingredients of every legacy letter. And so I really want to help, that mom or the dad, know what goes knows what goes into a legacy letter. So it's a great resource.
Got it. So everybody can go grab those three chunks. Nice.
Yep.
Um, So, what else like comes to mind? Because I was telling you about, I just want to like give a little bit of like, here I am leading with questions, but to be open, I told you about the men and women that are in Business Builder Camp and some of the businesses that they run, and like I said, the bulk of them are parents. Like, what else would you want to share with everybody about this work?
Yeah, well, I think, one of the things that I'm personally convicted about is I spend a lot of time coming up with a sales page or a pitch, and a lot of things on my my mission and my pitch, and just all these different things to say the right words correct and connect with people. And then I start to think, okay, how much work am I doing to connect with my children? And like the whole reason I'm doing this business is for my
Yeah,
family and my children.
right.
But do I spend the same amount of time or even close to the same amount of time? I don't. And that's and most business owners don't. And that is one of the things I get excited about is I'm helping business owners, because you can rest easy that after this program, hey, you can say, no, I've spent a lot of time trying to, through the process of writing this letter, connect with my children the same way I try to connect with my customers or employees or whoever it is in their life. And no one has ever regretted writing their legacy letter. Like, no one will ever regret that.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Even in your building your thing, sometimes you lose sight of the reason. So you're human.
Right.
That's wonderful. Um, and what I'm thinking is like in the group here, Pete Koch is a strength coach, and we did a strength challenge. So several business owners, we all got together and we did a 12-week challenge in that arena, and it was really helpful to have the peer support and maybe peer pressure of, yeah, you got kids, they're in the background, it's all good. So in Business Builder Camp, we did a strength challenge. Pete Koch is a strength coach, and we got a small group together, and we did a 12-week program together where we met four times with Pete, and we did some baseline fitness measures in the beginning, and then at the end we repeated those baseline fitness measures, burpees and push-ups and weight, if for those who wanted to reduce weight, and all those things. And it was definitely not the whole group didn't stick with it, but those who did had measurable results and had shifts in thinking in the way that they understood things. So it makes total sense to me that when people do the letter challenge with you, that they're going to have better results and have a shared experience. So we are going to figure out a way to do that for Business Builder Camp, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Good. Well, Blake, so thanks for the everything on writing a letter. What I said to you that would also be great was you're part of our world. You're doing this interview, and I want to maintain our relationship over and see where you go over the next who knows how many years. It would be great to understand a little bit about this business that you're building, both from the point of view of so perhaps somebody could help you and help get the word out, and also just so in this moment, since my thing is coaching, if there's anything that's holding you up, that we might find some ways around it for you. So can you tell us, share a little bit about the business part of what you do, because you do have to, if you're going to get a mission like this out to the world, and then I hear your children in the background, money and profit are important and are not bad things at all, because it helps magnify what you have. So what does your business world look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was in the nonprofit world for a while, and I was asking people for donations for like in my previous job.
Yep.
And so then, a lot of people went into as I started this, like, oh, they just assumed that this was going to be a nonprofit. And from the beginning, I said, no, I'm going to create a for profit because I want to create a product that people are wanting to purchase. And if I can't create a good enough product that people are wanting to purchase, then I'll just pack up my bags and go home. And I knew that if I relied on donors, obviously there's a lot of organizations that have donors, and it's a great thing.
Sure.
But then I would be spending all my effort in keeping my donors happy, not my potential customers happy. And so I started off thinking that I would just have individuals either sign up for the group and or for my course, and I thought that that's where all the my revenue would come from. And then probably about 3 or 4 months in, a dad came to me who was an insurance agent and said, "I want to buy this as a gift for my clients for Christmas." And so we put together a package for him, and I thought, man, I have a business coach, and said, I think we're onto something here. And that was probably about 30 businesses ago, and
Hmm.
who have now either bought it for their clients or bought it for their employees. And so I've been the keynote speaker at a financial advisor conference, and the vice president of this company, of all these financial advisors, said, "Hey, if you want to be a good financial advisor, you buy things like this for your clients to show them that you care more about just their money, you care about their family." So I've been doing a lot of stuff with that particular company, and then continuing to grow from there. So I don't know if that shares. So one of the things that I haven't done yet is the Facebook ads. I do think that there'll be a day when we're spending $10,000 on Facebook ads, marketing to dads, and dads are signing up for the course that way, or moms. But we're just not there yet, and I'm not an expert in that, and so one day I'll hire someone to help me do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My experience has definitely been in messing around with some of those things is it's not really something very good to mess around with
Yeah,
because not only can and have I spent money in that arena that didn't yield a lot of results, but probably one of the bigger impacts was energy and feeling of um, both hope that something like that was going to work out like magic in some way, and then disappointment when it didn't, and then questioning what does that mean about me and my message, and then just the fact of like hitting refresh, almost almost like a slot machine or something, to look at numbers that I didn't even completely understand on my own. So yeah, I think a lot of people have experiences with marketing, trying to use marketing like a silver bullet before it's time to hire somebody to do marketing and advertising like that. And you've got such a great story. So to be able to just relay that story to more people and then have it cascade out through those messengers like financial advisors, that makes a lot of sense to me.
well, and one of the things that I've also learned, because most of my business right now has come from someone that I knew connected me to someone else, and so I've just been playing that game. I got on LinkedIn, and I was kind of doing some cold, marketing, and I know that works for people, and that's why I was trying it. But what I realized, what the best thing for me to do was to just get on the phone with somebody and talk to them, and just not a sales pitch at all. I just told them what was going on. Hey, how are you doing? Get an update on their life. I shared with them an update on my life, and talk about who I was doing business with. And all of a sudden, it's like a light bulb would go off in their head and think, "Oh, well, you know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to this person." Next thing you know, they're connecting me, and then I would talk to that person. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but early on, it was like, "Hey, all right, I just need all my friends to buy this thing." And then none of your friends are buying it, and it's like, hey, why aren't my friends buying the thing? And it's I've got some advice that, hey, your friends aren't going to be the ones who buy it. Like, don't try to count on them. Not to say that my friends aren't for me, and
Sure,
I have had
sure.
some friends sign up, but it's really the people that came in other doors that have really just like, man, they're excited for me and they're helping me and connecting me to this person or that person.
Wow, yeah, so that makes total sense that you would have raving fans, which of course is the title of a book, that you would have raving fans or like evangelists who would really latch on to what you're doing and then they would be the ones in their little circle of influence where they would be able to go out and influence others to follow suit. When we were farming, we had our organic farm. It was certainly like that, where you would find a mom oftentimes who really cared about what they were feeding their children, and they would end up like bringing other people in and be like,
Yeah.
wow, you really need to come see this. You need to come think about what you're feeding your children. And they already have trust with those in their circles. So it was a great place to start out. Um, what is what is there anything like what does it feel like is holding you back right now, or what's the next thing that rolls through your head constantly, like there's this, something but
Like any business owner, there's things that and tasks that I do not enjoy doing, and there's things that I know that as my business grows, like I will not have to do those. And so it's like, oh man, I don't have an executive assistant right now. It's like, oh man, I need an executive assistant, and I know that's one of my next things to do, and I don't know. So it's like, okay, it feels scary to hire someone, like hire anybody really.
mm,
I have a team now in India that's helped me build some of my landing pages and do some things, but honestly, that's even been hard to set up. Not because of them, because of me. Like trying to think through my systems and write down my systems. Okay, now you do this, now you do that. Because I'm so much like on the fly. Like like, oh, I'm gonna do it this week, and then the next week, I'm making my product better each week. And so, to stop and tell someone else, no, this is exactly how we do this part of the business, and now you go do it. When it's changed like 4 times in the last month.
sure.
uh, so. But I am getting to that spot where I really want to get some things off my plate so that I can do things like this, like the interviews and coaching more dads groups. Because anytime I coach a dads group, that's only good things come from that. So
Right, yeah, I think that's really common that people struggle with that first step, and then on the other hand, that's another one of those things where it's really easy to hire an assistant early and end up spending money on it and frustrating that other person because
oh,
we're not giving them proper instruction and we're not even quite sure what it is we want them to do.
I've been there,
Yeah.
and it was frustrating for both. I was kind of thinking, okay, now this is going to solve all my problems, and then she was a virtual assistant. She lived down in Houston, and she was great. It's just that I didn't know what to tell her of what to do, and she was trying, and I kind of just thought, she's gonna step into my business as if she was an owner. Well, she's not an owner. I'm the owner,
Mhm.
and so I can't expect her to think about my business that way. So, uh, yeah, I have done that before, and I wasted a little bit of money doing that.
Yeah, sure. I think that's part of the path though too. Like, and we can't
Yeah.
make it wrong for what happened in the past.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know what, yeah, you know what you know now because of things like that, because of packaging it
Oh
up.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I don't know if hesitant's the right word, but I just want to make sure I'm ready to jump into it because I know what it takes to when you hire someone to make sure that you're serving them well so they can serve you well.
Yeah. So 1 million letters. What's the estimated count, Blake?
We're still less than 1,000,
Hmm.
so we've been going at it for a year. So it's one of those things. I think it's been. I mean, we're ahead of where I thought we'd be, but then at the same time, like I think it'll start experiencing exponential growth once we start going. So we'll see what happens. Some cool things are in the works with some higher profile people.
Sure.
Uh, Putting together, there's a group of Major League Baseball dads this fall. Uh, some former, some current, some future Hall of Fame pitcher in the group, and So we'll see what happens. The Today Show, I did a pre-interview with them last week, and they would come out to my house and
Awesome.
do a story on us. So it's like, well, you never really know when something like that just really makes it spread. A couple weeks ago, I'm actually pretty proud of this. So I don't know how much you've been following the NCAA stuff on like the NILs.
Not a good sports fan. I have no idea.
Okay.
But
Well, as of July 1st, college athletes for the first time ever in history could get paid for their name, image, and likeness. And so there's all
okay.
these
All right.
stories out
Yep.
there about who they signed with. Well, we signed a guy, so my mater is Arkansas Razorbacks. There's a
Hmm.
dad there, he's got a 2-year old son. His dad actually was Keith Jackson, who played for the Eagles, and he also played for the Packers as a tight end. But his son plays for the Razorbacks. I signed him to a sponsorship. So I signed the first ever NIL sponsorship that supports fatherhood. So I'm pretty
Awesome.
proud to say that and excited to
Yeah.
say that. So we got our my first ever press release out there, and we got some good media, and we were on the news for it. So it was
Way to go,
kind
Blake.
of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when I work with people like you, and actually, I remember our first conversation, and I remember saying, "Oh, you should talk to this podcast." So, oh, let me introduce you to this other person. I was on their podcast, so I was pushing a bit in that direction. Like, oh, think bigger, talk to these people. Like, you're awesome. This is great. It sounds like you really are comfortable now with the idea that you belong in conversations with Major League Baseball or college sports, whatever the sport may be. So that's great. It's so good to hear that you're just reaching out. The TV show, good for you. Why not? Why not you?
Yeah. Oh, I've come a long ways in that because a year ago, when we started on this mission, it's like, okay, I believe in this mission, but still, it was hard for me to put myself out there. I did my first webinar, and like, I was like, man, I was like, I don't want to be the face of this thing, but it's like, who, like, of course, who else is going to be talk about it? But the more you talk about it, and you gain in confidence, and then you start helping these dads write their letter, and you see all the good that came from it, and you're just like, man, I got to keep going. So for me, whenever I start to feel those insecurities, I just go back to, no, this is not about you, this is about the mission. This is about the mission of helping a million dads write their letter.
When you get to the million mark, right? Or maybe as you like, I have to imagine that the curve, Blake, is like flat, 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 and then at some point it starts to slope up, right?
Like
And
some
it's
hockey stick, hopefully.
yeah, you can believe that, like you're okay with that. That could happen for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I hate
Oh
Zoom
yeah.
because I can't. I love Zoom. I don't hate it, but I'm trying to look at you, and it's if you
No,
were
I think I believe that's going to happen, and
okay,
I think there's things out there that could expedite that, but I'm really not in any hurry. Like in my mind, I already see that happening.
for sure.
So whether it happens now or 6 months or 2 years from now, it's like it doesn't matter. It's going to happen.
So when you get on that like steep curve, exponential or hockey stick, and that's what's going to take you to a million, you're going to be headed there. And you shared that the getting the assistant is, it's like the next thing, but it's like, when do I make the leap? So my question is, I guess, when you get in that curve, how many letters do you think will be getting finished, or how many new dads and moms will be coming into your world, I don't know, on a monthly basis, if you had to think of like a rate? When is it starting to, like, wow, now it's going? How many letters could you imagine? How many new people could you imagine serving on a monthly basis?
That's a great question. I haven't even thought about it in those terms, and it's hard to it's hard because I don't know what I don't know. Like, so is it 1,000? Is it 2,000? Because then there's also an element too, because I'm partnering with so many people. So right now, we just we've had a lot of good revenue in the month of August, and if I continued at this pace of revenue of how much we brought in this month, man, I could definitely afford to go ahead and bring that person on. But I say that to say I didn't have like that many more people sign up to write their letter. And the reason is because they signed up, the partnership started this month, and then
Sure.
over the next 3 months is when they'll be rolling it out to their clients.
Right.
So
And then you start trying to make sure that they maximize their
Yeah.
the uptake of the
Right, exactly,
offering.
right. Okay, they bought this for everyone. Now I've got to help them market it to the people in their life that they bought it for.
So we're not gonna have time because I know you have to go. But the you haven't thought of it that way, and the fun exercise for you would be to think of it that way, right? Like think of it where you have, I don't know, 1,000 people a month or 1,000 letters a month, and who will you be? What will be going on in your world? Like, because exactly what you're saying, like, all right, 1,000 letters a month are happening, or 1,000 people are coming into the world, into my world, and I'll be doing more speaking. And I wonder who will be supporting me, right? Like, because you're going to be a, it's like you're like a micro celebrity uh, in your world, and that's just in service to the imagine like the dads and the
Well,
kids who are served, right?
the the person I look up to, and I don't want to be this person, but Dave Ramsey. So
Yeah,
Dave Ramsey, there's nonprofits that do what Dave Ramsey does, like help people with financials. But he's a for profit, and people pay him money, and he's got an online program that he does now. He does some speaking, but he's got like 900 and something employees.
right. and,
Hell,
and
hell,
somewhere along the curve, like that's where if you can go back and think of what it would be like to run your operation. Sure, you're not Dave, you're Blake. um you can think of what you'll be doing and what you'll be like, and then and that's a thinking exercise to go somewhere to just kind of think through that, visualize. And then the next question becomes, what if that's who I'm going to be, how could I be more like that today? And how could I bring that into the present? So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like what would the best? Because I'll ask this. I'm sometimes some days I'm like, okay, what am I going to do today? Which it's not like I don't have things. I got a million things to do. But like, what am I going to do today? And I try to imagine, okay, what would the best CEO in the world? What would he do in my business today? And then I'll try to act accordingly from what that. But then I also do this with my family, and so I actually have a notification in my phone, and at 5 o'clock it goes off, say, "What would the best father in the world
that's
do
awesome.
right now in your family?"
Yeah.
Because that's a reminder, because that's who I am. I am the best father in the world to my family. They don't have any other option. It's me. So I
Sure.
am the best father,
Yeah.
and so that's an identity thing because you act in your identity. So I try to act out that identity. I try to help dads understand this because it's so easy as a dad to think, oh yeah, I need to make sure I get these things off the list to be a good dad. It's like, well, if you are a good dad and that is your identity even before your business or before your work, like you will just be a good dad.
Everything
Like
else will
that's who
fall
you
into
are.
place. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Blake, we're going to wrap it up so you can get on to your next appointment. But legacyletterchallenge.com, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Everyone go there. It's been great working with you. Thanks for being part of my life. And I know this will serve the people who listen to it. And we'll be in touch. And I'll get my letter written with your help.
Absolutely. Can't wait to help you.
Okay. Good deal. Thanks, Blake.